So if you've ever been interested in freezing your eggs, you're probably like me where you thought it's a pretty simple process. You just go in, you go to the doctor, you get your eggs taken out, and you can use them whenever you want. And it buys you some time until you're ready to have kids. And it does buy you time until you're ready to have kids. But the process is not as simple as one may think, which was news to me. So I want to walk you through what the process is actually like so you can make an informed decision and maybe get some info that you didn't know prior that maybe will be helpful. So first of all, you have to go see a fertility doctor. So not your OBGYN, you got to go see an actual fertility doctor. Maybe your OB can refer you to one, but it's a totally different practice. And it's not always covered by your insurance. So I think mine, the one that I went just to do the initial testing, was $90 out of pocket. So that's just something to consider. There's going to be out of pocket costs. Um, when you go to your initial consultation, they will do an ultrasound, sticking up, not on top. And they're looking for things like, what do your ovaries look like? Do you have any cysts? Do you have any blockage? Are they both intact? Do you have eggs in each, or only in one? And then they're also going to do blood work. They're going to look for follicles, how many follicles you have. Basically, that is gives you an indication. There's like a range online that you can check, that is like your ideal amount of follicles to give you the best chance. But the older you get, the less follicles you have, and that basically translates to the less eggs that you have, in order to give you the chance, of having a natural pregnancy. So they'll take all this information, also obviously look at your health records, etc. And then you're going to come back and they'll go through their recommendation. So the recommendation, first of all, they talk about how many rounds that they recommend, that was news to me. Like, I thought you just go in, they take the eggs they need, and like you're done. That is not the case. They pull a certain number per round, and it's really all a numbers game. So they're going to be on the conservative side, and they're going to say, okay, to give you the best chance based on like the numbers, right? Because let's say you get like 10 eggs, then only like 5 might be viable. And then when they try to create the embryos, maybe only like 2 of them take. So now you have like 2 chances, like 2 embryos with IVF that could be possible to even create a kid, right? So because of that kind of drop off from the number that they get to the number of viable embryos, they will try to get as many as they can by the number of rounds in order to give you the best chance of having multiple viable embryos to use during IVF. Because the last thing they want to do is like freeze your eggs at one age, and then like 3 years later when you do IVF and let's say you run out of embryos, go back and get more. That's not what the plan is. So they're going to be on the conservative side, which means if you're going at over the age of 35, you might want to prepare for more than one round. For me, I was recommended 2 rounds. So each round takes 6 months. So it's also not a just go in to the doctor and go get them taken out and then go in another time. 6 months per round. Okay. Also, that was something that I was definitely not aware. Um, During those 6 months, what happens? Well, first of all, you're getting very comfortable going to your doctor's office a lot because you go multiple times a week, like 3 to 4 to 5 times a week, to get your blood drawn, to see how you are responding to the hormones and things like that. Make sure that things are going in the right direction and working well, and your body's responding well. And they take your vitals, all of that stuff. So you're going to the doctor's office very often. So if you have a really demanding job or you have kind of a wonky schedule, you're going to need to take that into account to make sure that you go to your doctor multiple times a week to get your blood drawn to make sure things are good. You also need to get real comfortable with needles, which which I am not. Needles totally freak me out, and I'm totally like this when I'm giving blood. Like I can't even like look at it. But you gotta shoot it in, I think, your butt or somewhere, every single day for the entire 6 months. So if it's 2 rounds, it's for a whole year. If it's more than that, you get the picture. So either you or someone you know that you're close to that can do it for you needs to get really comfortable with needles because that's going to be a part of it. Next, you can't work out, which for some people, that's a plus. You're like, sweet. It's like going to gym class when you were a kid and getting a doctor's note so you can get out of class. For me, that was a big deal because, especially the older we get, like we have to work out or like we're going to be gaining weight for sure. Like I can't, like I just like breathe and I gain weight at this age, I feel like. So, and it's also for me, it's a mental thing as well. Like it's how I keep my head straight. It's not just a physical activity. So not working out for 6 months to a year or more has its own physical and mental challenges as well. Um, and after all of that, you go through your rounds and they'll take the eggs and they make the embryos and you freeze them. It may or may not be covered by insurance. All insurances are different. It's something to look into before you start the process. For me, I had Blue Cross Blue Shield at the time, and it was going to cost $10,000 per round out of pocket. So, and I don't think that covered like the medicine and the shots and stuff like that. I didn't look as deep into it. So definitely check with your insurance provider because there is most likely a pretty significant cost that comes with each round. So once you freeze them, from there, when you want to use them, it's time for IVF, which has I did not do IVF. I was one of the lucky ones where I didn't have to go through that process. However, definitely something to look into because that has its own process and costs associated with it. So I hope that was helpful. If you're thinking about freezing your eggs, the sooner you decide to do it, the better, because the chance that you have to do less rounds will be higher, right? So the earlier you do it, the less rounds, which means the more money you save and the less time you have to go through this process. But if you, excuse me, if you are still over 35 and you're like, you know what, I'm not ready and I want to freeze my eggs, then you know what, go for it. Um, Look it up in your area, see if there's any way you could get some of the money covered and, do what works best for you. So good luck.